Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. No question times today in the manner I normally do it, but it is still a sort of question time based on questions around the subject of how is your so-and-so doing, or how are these doing. So these are requests really for an individual plant update, or in one case a set of plants. So I thought we'd do that instead. That's going to involve quite a bit of getting plants out and putting them back and putting the camera down in between, so it will be a bit bitty, but it's basically people that have asked how things are doing, individual plants mainly. But an original one, this is from quite a while ago actually, is just a general one: how are the Bulbophyllums doing, without being specific. Well, there are only three for a start, and one of them's mounted and is easy to get at. Now, this is a little species Bulbophyllum. It's dry at the moment, but I'm just about to start watering, but I thought I'd get the filming out of the way first. Now, this lived in a pot for some considerable time and didn't do that well. It was mounted and did a lot better, but effectively it got remounted, and I can't remember why, but it's in live moss now, and I can see a little bud actually. These are tiny, so I'll have to put the camera down, but it's there, the end of my finger. See if I can get it silhouetted there, you can sort of see it there. So there's a little bud on one of the growths, and as far as I remember, this blooms on the previous growth rather than the latest one. So as the latest one is maturing, the previous one blooms. So there could be some other buds down the line. The latest growths on this are in all sorts of places. There's one right at the very top, roots coming out. There's one out the side in front of the bulb with the bud on. There's another one there that's gone aerial, and another one just in front of it. So it's got quite a few leads on it, and I'm hoping that eventually they will, get down in the moss and grow on. But I'm not sure I'm going to keep that yet. It's a delicate, attractive little Bulbophyllum bloom, but emphasis on the little. Nonetheless, it's a species and it's very attractive. Just doesn't necessarily appeal to me, so that might be a surprise in somebody's box when I get round to posting this stuff eventually. Right, the next one I can probably get out without putting the camera down, because it's this giant in a bowl. And this is the Elizabeth Ann Buckleberry, and all I can say about this is it's growing. It's growing everywhere. New growth here, new growth here. Those two new growths have basically both come out in the same area. You have to dig down in places. There's a new growth here, another one tucked in there, one coming out the side here. This is a new growth. You can tell them they've got shinier leaves. So it's basically another new growth here. They're normally tucked down inside. This is a new growth. So there's quite a lot of growth on this, and has been in the past. It's not one plant, it's several, but I can't remember how many. And they were just all planted up together as a bowl full. Now, again, I can't remember specifically, but I've got a feeling this also blooms on the previous growth as the leading growth matures, in which case we should be due some spikes soon, unless it blooms on the latest growths after they've matured, in which case we should be due some spikes soon. So I think either way this should be coming into bloom in the not too distant future. It's growing well in this bowl, very pleased. As I say, plenty of new growths all over the place, quite a few of which are going to get their roots down into the media as well. Some of them are going to end up aerial, but some of them will add to the root system, which, if I remember, wasn't brilliant but wasn't bad. So that's that one. It's a bit of a giant, that. It's quite heavy. When that's just been watered, I've got a job to lift that with one hand. It's a two-handed job because of the weight. Right, the next one I'll have to pop the camera down, so I'll be back. And this is the Wilbur Chang. Now this has had problems And these problems stem back to the same problems as I've been discussing recently, along the same lines. Because if you look at where the problems are, they're on high spots. Yeah? So this is probably light intensity. The same problem. See, this leaf would have been hanging down and it hasn't got the problem on it. Yeah? And just different parts of the shelf. But this is coming into growth. We've got two nice new growths here coming out from the same place. And I keep looking at that down there. Is that finally going to be a spike, or is it just another new growth? Or just a funny shaped object? Another new growth here, leaf just opening. Another one here and another one here. So quite a few new growths. But a while back this had a serious problem and I had to take an awful lot of leaves off back to the bulbs, and these are those bulbs. Yeah, so it's had a problem. I think it's grown through it and come out the other end, but it's difficult to say definitely. It's now on a very low shelf. It doesn't get the light intensity. And in addition to that, the light intensity's been stopped in here anyway with the addition of the shade netting on the roof, or an extra layer of shade netting on the roof. New leaves pale, they will darken as they age, and the colour of the normal leaves is good. So this is, I believe, what it should look like. I just think this is a bit of light intensity trouble. Could be something more serious, but I don't think so. When you get a mark like that in a high spot, it's normally light. It's not much else. Same here, high spot. Yeah. Very pale bit on the end of that leaf. High spot. Lower down leaves, no problems. So another one that would have been hanging out. So that's what I'm going to put that down to, and not worry about it, and just, you know, keep this hydrated now the new growths are pushing on. They should all get their roots down in the media. Even this one right on the edge, it'll still push roots down there. These two will go straight into the media. This one will. So we'll get an addition to the root system, and it should grow on, but still a non-bloomer. Still no blooms on this one. And I don't know what else to try. It's had light intensity such that it actually caused problems. It's had shade. I can't do much about the temperature range. Maybe it's a warm grower and it gets set back in the winter because it's cold. Maybe it's a cool grower and it gets set back in the summer because it's too hot. It's difficult to tell, especially with a hybrid. I've got a feeling Wilbur Chang is actually a primary cross, so it will be two species. So I could look those up. I know one of them's a bit of a stinker. I think it's actually I've got a feeling it's a clone that's actually called Smell Me Not, which is maybe a bit of a clue. But whether the combination that this eventually produces as a bloom is a stinker, I don't know, because it hasn't done it yet. We'll wait and see. Officially, this could be going to somebody else, to Zana, but I can't get it to her. There's no shows, there's no meetings, there's no... The idea was to take it to Malvern, so in theory she would already have it, because I'd have taken it to Malvern, handed it over. It's supposed to be a swap or something or other, but I don't know what she's got. Maybe she'll surprise me. But at the moment, as far as I know, she's moving to Italy, and that's in the not too distant future. I can't get it to her. I'm not posting that. It's far too big. The box would be huge. It'd be the same size as a flipping microwave box or something to get that in without damaging it. So, you know, it needs to be taken somewhere where it can be collected. And at the moment, that can't happen. You know, there's no meetings or anything like that, or shows or anything at the moment. We shall see. And it depends how long Zana is still in the country. But if she's still in the country and the Welsh show actually takes place, then her society, which is the... oh God, come on, brain. It's gone. Orchid Growers of Great Britain or something like that. Anyway, it's a national society, not a local one like the two I belong to. And she's secretary. So if the Welsh show takes place, I'm sure they will be there. And then, in fact, I know they will be there because that was the first time Zaina set up her own stand last year, where she had to do it on her own, probably because of the distance to travel. But that could be a point at which this could be handed over. We shall see. All these things are, up in the air. We don't know. At the moment, the Welsh show is the beginning of September. The Orchid Society in Wales that are hosting it have not shown it as cancelled. And the venue have still got it listed as a venue that's not cancelled. So at the moment, it looks like it's going ahead. But it could be pulled. You never know. So at the moment, that could be one of the only shows I can get to this year, if it takes place. We will have to wait and see. Right, that's the 3 Bulbophyllums. Camera down, find something else. Right, the next one really, it's not really a question on how the plant's doing, it's a question on what am I going to do with it next. And it's basically the giant Brassia that has to go, it's had to go down on the floor because of the sheer height between the base of the pot and the top of the flower spikes. Well, the flowers are going over now. They get a gorgeous pink tinge on them as they die, which is often the case with Brassia types. If you think the Shelob Tolkien, these lovely brown spots that are ringed by a creamy yellow colour with lovely perfect edges to them, as they die, all those colours run in together as though they were like watercolour paints and you've got some water on them and they run together. These do the same. All the spots start running their colour. So that's what this one's done. And it's gone pink. But they are going now to such an extent that it's hardly worth leaving the spikes on there now. I've got new growths pushing up all over the place. And I mean all over the place. And in addition to that, I've got a pot full of ferns, which I don't want. Ferns are not ideal to leave in orchid pots because they can have extensive root systems which will tangle up in amongst your orchid roots and use up all the nutrients because they have a far finer and more extensive root systems. So they get there first, basically. Yes, the spikes are going to come off in the very near future, at which point we're going to get it out of the pot. And I'm not making a decision on what I'm going to do with it until I get it out of the pot, if you see what I mean. Oldest leaves on this have got the typical Oncidium alliance spots. They're not extensive, they're certainly not spreading, and I've got a feeling they were there when I got it anyway. The latest set of leaves on the growths that have bloomed, which are my growths effectively, they're clean, they're okay, and there's no sign of any problems with the new set of growths, the next lot to bloom. And this is what I've got to stop and think about, is the future. I think I've got 8 or 9 new growths on this plant. Now, as a single plant, that number of spikes is not going to be manageable. You can see the size of the things here. I didn't have stakes long enough to even deal with them, to keep them upright. So they ended up arching over off the tops of the spikes and took up so much room I had no physical space in this grow room to keep that plant. So it's had to go on the floor, which means I keep brushing past it, I keep knocking the spikes, because it can't stay in one place, it has to be moved. So as it is, it's become a bit of a inconvenience, nonetheless. For the flowers, I love it. Fragrance not that strong, but it's there. Spicy sort of fragrance, I suppose you could call it. So something's got to be done with it. I've got a feeling it might end up, although it's quite a spectacle when all the spikes are in bloom, it's what I call a non-mobile spectacle. There's only me and people watching videos that will ever see it. I can't take that anywhere. I can't transport that. That will not fit in my car. Not even lead on its side. I can't get that transported, so it can never go anywhere. However, it's possible if I split it one portion of it might be able to lay on the back seat. It's a thought, but it's probably going to get split. Decision not made until I get it out of the pot and see what's going on. But the latest set of new growths are doing roots, so the timing is going to be good. The blooms are going over anyway, so it's a good time to get those off. The longer you leave them, it has an adverse effect on the plant once the blooms start to go. So spikes off, and then all the energy in the plant will go into the new growths, which are starting their new roots. I'll just have to put the camera in the other hand. But we do have new roots starting. So now would be a very good time to do something with it. I can't keep it as a single plant. Number one, it's going to have to go in a much bigger pot. I haven't got one, because the next size up I think you would call a bucket, which is going to make it even taller, bigger and clumsier. So as purchases go, looking back, this has to be considered as a bit of a daft idea for the size of the grow room I've got. Eyes bigger than the stomach, I think. I got caught up with the scale of, this was from Burnham's, and it was in their sales area on the floor, and there was a row of them. Well, it's a very large area, you know, with different height shelving and stuff like that. And in perspective, these did not look that big. However, having purchased it, I got out to the car and I thought, how the hell am I going to get this in the car? So I couldn't even transport it home any sense. I should have realised at that point and taken it back in instead of changed my mind. I want to swap it. But nonetheless, I've got it now, so I have to deal with it. But I think it's going to end up as several plants, and I know people who have got the space that would love this. So, you know, I don't think getting rid of some pieces will be difficult. But it's not the sort of thing that's a postable plant, because it's just so big. So it's a plant to hand over to somebody, you know, at orchid societies, when we ever get to see each other again. So that's that one. That was a specific one. And as I said, it wasn't really how's the plant doing. It's more of what is coming next, really. Curiosity, I think. Now the next one I can just about get at without getting the plant out. Somebody asked how my delicatum was doing. It was bought as a single cane kiki from Sarah at a show, and it won't bloom, but it could just be that it's a bit too small. But it lives up the back here, if I can thread the camera through, and recently it started a lovely new growth which will produce some more roots. Whether this is going to bloom at the end of this winter or not, I really don't know. In theory, it could push a spike or two out on the latest cane, not the new one coming up now, the one prior to that. And don't ask me which one it is, because I can't remember. It could be any of them. But there are some sort of signs of nubbins on some of these canes that could produce some blooms. Probably comes into the category of one of the most fragrant orchids. It's a natural hybrid, occurs in the wild. White, as far as I remember from seeing other people's. It looks like the typical Kingianum style blooms, you know, sort of Kingianum berryoda type thing, because that's part of what it is. But the blooms are white as far as I know. So we do have a nice strong new growth pushing out that will produce some more roots. It hasn't got bad roots, and hopefully at the end of the winter we might get some blooms. Quite honestly, they're not worth holding your breath for, if you know what I mean. They're delicately attractive, but it's the fragrance you grow this one for, not the actual attractiveness of the blooms. You grow it for the fragrance. So that's that one. Now this one was asked about some time ago on the grounds that this was bought by John Greco. He bought one for Rachel, one for Danny, one for me, and I think he got two for himself. This is probably 7 or 8 years away from blooming, if it ever does. it's incredibly slow growing, and what we did, we agreed that each year we would all do an update video and post them together. It seemed to fall on me to organise that, and quite honestly this year I just forgot. And we don't hear much from John anymore. I think we didn't hear anything from him for about 9 months, and then he put one video up and went quiet again. Busy doing other things, I expect, but nonetheless mine won't grow. So if I was asked what the progress was, I would say it's negative progress because it's lost a leaf and it hasn't replaced it yet. I do have some roots in here. It's not like it's rootless, but it just won't get going. It just will not move. So progress on that is 0, quite honestly. It's just sitting there and it won't grow. Chances are my conditions are just wrong for it. I'm pretty confident it's quite a warm grower, so it's not going to like my winter. So every year it's going to get set back if it really is too cold for it. So it just won't get going. But so the progress on that, as I said, is it's gone from 5 leaves to 4. Is there any sign of a new one yet? Yeah, there is. There's actually a new one just starting right down in the crown there. Just. So that just takes it back up to 5 again. That's not progress. It's just sitting there. Just won't grow. So that's that one. That's a relatively recent question because this is a relatively recent repot. But somebody said, has the Hibiki shown signs of taking after the repot? It's an expression I use, that an orchid has taken. What I really mean is that there's root growth that's looking good, if you know what I mean. Now this has so many new growths on it, they're not even going to get counted because it's up near the 20 mark. They're everywhere. But I'd say yes, it's taken. If you look, that view there is the best one. You can see some much stronger roots coming out than there was before. So we've got root growth. And as most of these new growths are down near the pot, these roots are going to go straight into the media. There's a lot of them. Nearly all of these new growths are pushing roots now. So we should have a pot full of roots soon. This had a very shallow root system. So basically, eventually, these roots will fill the pot. They haven't done it yet, but they're growing. As I said, I don't think I've ever seen a dendrobium with that many new growths. It's finally given up on its only bloom, which was there when I got it. Yes, so we're looking at new growths, pushing on, getting some length in them. This is in effect the largest of the new growths. This one's pushed on quite nicely. So is that one. And some of the growths are actually keikis, technically. Yeah, so that's not growing from the base of the plant, that's growing from part way up. But it's growing, it's doing okay. There's a dodgy leaf in there, which I'm not even going to bother breaking off. It looks like a light issue. Well, I will break it off. Came off easily, actually, it was about to fall. Yeah, so it's doing okay, and it is doing what I was hoping it would do, because it was a bit of a risk. Because there wasn't much of a sign of new roots when I repotted this, but I thought they're going to come soon. And they've actually come almost immediately. So we've got roots. So it will keep going now. Technically, the new growths would have drained the plant if roots hadn't got going very quickly. If this was one of those plants where the new roots don't come until the new growths are mature, the plant would have shriveled trying to support those new growths. But as the new roots are coming, you know, you can see them all down, they're everywhere. So the new roots are there, it will keep going now, and the larger canes are not going to shrivel. It's going to do fine. So that's that one. Whenever I get a new genus, which is nowadays, I try and choose something each year. And in some cases I might just get one plant because it could be a bit of a risk. You know, in other words, it might not do that well in my grow room. But the decision this year was to try Renanthera. I ended up getting 4, one of which is a primary cross, and another is an intergeneric crossed with a Vanda. But I effectively got 4. One I was disappointed with because not long after I got it, I discovered it had crown rot. Now, it had that when it left the cellar, quite honestly. Perhaps it just hadn't shown itself very well yet. But I'll get them down. There's 4 of them. They're easy to get at, so I don't need to put the camera down. And this is the one with the crown rot. I don't think I'm going to get another leaf out of that crown, quite honestly. It's effectively Renanthera storiei crossed with Vanda denisoniana. It's potentially a smashing cross, but it needs to grow. But that to me looks like that's the start of a side growth, and then there's something else coming out here that could be yet another side growth, or it could just be a root. But there's something going on the stem. There's also something green coming up from down in the pot, which could also be a side growth. Some plants respond quite quickly to a damaged crown and start shooting out sideways quickly. Others don't do anything for months and months and months. But this one's doing something. It hasn't got, including a new root. It's got a straggly root system, which was put in a pot to keep it hydrated better. Renantheras, not all of them, but some of the species are renowned for actually growing as almost terrestrials in their early life. In other words, the seedlings tend to be around the base of trees, and then they clamber up the tree as they get older and start growing more vigorously, and the bottom part of the plant is eventually lost. So they turn into an epiphyte. Some of them start off as epiphytes and grow halfway up the tree anyway. But there's quite a few are actually found right at the base of the trees with their roots in the ground, in effect. It's only loose ground. It's not like they're not growing in soil as such, but yeah, they are at ground level to start with. So that's that one. That's got to do something odd to be able to be any good at the moment, because it's lost its growing point. It now needs to get another one, otherwise it's just going to be static. So I'm hoping that some of those green bits are going to be something useful, not just another root. I got roots already. We need a growth. Now this one, this is Kalsom, or Kalsom. I'll be doing pop-ups anyway, and this I believe is the primary cross, because I don't think it's any of the others, so it's got to be this one, hasn't it? Now this one's pushing up a new leaf. It's also pushing out roots from the stem. It's also got root growth going on in the pot. This one's doing okay. Now we've got quite a few new roots. Got one coming out here, another one coming out here. This is a new root. Really dark coloured root tips on this. They're, a lot of root tips are green, aren't they? And you can see there's root tips around here as well once you get your eye into the colour. So this has got good active roots going on, and it's in growth. When it's going to bloom, if it's going to bloom, who knows? But it's growing. I'm pleased. This one's happy, or it wouldn't be doing all these new roots and stuff. So that one's coming on quite nicely. That's two. Where did I put the other two? Oh, up here. Oh, this is the smaller one of the set, and this is the one that looked like it had a bit of perhaps kept in a light area, a bit too high for it. This was before I got it, for a change, so it wasn't me this time round. This leaf is increasing in size, so it's growing, and this one didn't have brilliant roots, but it had some. And this one's pushed out a lovely new root straight into the side of the pot, so that one's grounded now. That one over there is going down in the pot. Whether we can see it or not, I don't know. Yeah, that's come out there. So it's got some roots, and there is some root activity, and there is top growth, albeit slow progress. And this one is the storiei. It's difficult to know how to pronounce I-E-I. Storiei. Yeah, I suppose that would make sense. Storiei. If the E wasn't there, it would be storiei, wouldn't it? Yeah. Whatever. But that was chosen because out of the Renantheras, this one is more of an intermediate grower than a warm grower. Most of them are up warm, heading towards hot. So these would not like my winter. So the primary cross has got storiei in it. This is storiei. And the other one I got is also one that is more temperature tolerant. So in other words, it will do without the extreme heat. Right, now this is a long straggly one, this one, and this is the one with the strange name. Imschootiana. And the shoot is SCH, not just SHOO. We're not doing any shooting in here. This is losing a leaf down here. In fact, it's lost it already. That saves me pulling it off. It fell off on its own. And this one's got a bare patch. It's got some leaves down near the base that seem quite good. And then it's got a bare bit, and then it's got the rest of the plant, effectively. And this has started a new leaf since I got it, so it's growing. Roots are sort of okay on this one. They're not brilliant. And the ones up here, they don't hydrate. So they're white, and it doesn't matter how much water gets on them, they don't go green. And the ones down in the pot are not brilliant. So this hasn't got a brilliant root system. But it's got one, and the roots down in the pot do hydrate. So they're okay. But it's a strange shaped plant. I have to just see what it does. I mean, apparently Renantheras can surprise you and bloom on what look like quite small plants. Whether any of these are anywhere near blooming, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. So that was the new genus for this year. I won't be getting any more. That's more than I would normally do. But the fact is they're a Vandaceous type. Did quite a lot of work on looking at the species. And the two species that are involved here have got temperature tolerance and are not warm to hot growers. They're more intermediate to warm. So they might slow down and stop in the winter, but they shouldn't die. They should get through the winter okay. And then we'll see what we get. I don't expect them to bloom this year. If they do, it will be a bonus, but I would expect them to think about it next year. So that's that. So yeah, that was the list. I don't think there were any others specifically. Not that I can remember anyway. Oh yes, there was. There's one. I'll dig it out. Hang on. Yeah, somebody asked how my severely disabled sotoanum was doing after its major setback. What happened with this one was it was a massive plant with a mass of blooms pushing on, so loads of spikes and everything like that, and it kept drying out. Unbeknown to me, despite being in quite a large pot, it was using that water up at a rate of knots. It was having periods of dryness that were far in excess of what it needed. Basically, it needed to be kept hydrated through that period, and we were having a heat wave, and it just basically went downhill. The blooms finished, and then the leaves started yellowing and dropping, and it just went downhill. So most of the older part of the plant now has lost its leaves. So there's a huge amount of plant round here serving not a lot of purpose, which probably means it could do with coming out of the pot and some of this taken off. But the bulbs aren't shriveled in any way, and it has just pushed up a new growth in between these bulbs. There's another new growth coming up here, just started. There's a not very good maturing new growth down here that might even be silly enough to try and bloom. And then there's another new growth here pushing on. So it's recovering, but it's not going to be a patch on what it was last year when it was in bloom. I'm seriously thinking that it might be a good idea to just get it out of the pot and create some pieces with new growths on. Possibly put them all in the same pot. But when it's doing well, it's an incredibly vigorous plant. Very, very strong grower. Grows at speed, puts out extensive root systems, often multiple new growths per pseudo bulb, so where you had one last year you get two this year. But it's not doing that well at the moment, so I think it needs refreshing. So I think that might need to go out in the kitchen, and while it's out there it can get the old spray treatment as well, because there is scale on here in places. I know there is, like there. It may be dead because it has actually been treated, but yeah, I think this back end just needs coming off. It's not really serving any purpose anymore. It needs to put all its energy, which it could be getting from those bulbs at the back, but what I need this to do is to get the new growths established with new root systems to go with them. The only way I'm going to do that, I think, is to separate them out. Yeah, see, if you look there, look at that. That's a scale outbreak. You can scrape it off and then squish them. Those you've got in your hand anyway. So there is scale on the plant. And this is the crawler stage. This has potential to create so many adult scale that then do serious damage to the leaves. Once they get up on the leaves, the adults, they leave a mark, basically. So while they're on the bulbs, they don't do so much harm, quite honestly. But they're on the plant, that's the thing. So it's not doing well, and not a patch on what it once looked like, which is a shame, because it was a really good plant. But it went downhill for my own neglect, basically, my own fault. It's just one of those that when it's in active growth and it's a busy plant, it must not dry out. It needs hydration. It needs a fair bit of food as well, because it puts on an awful lot of growth. And I think the only way it's going to do that again is to split it and actually rejuvenate the parts that want to grow. So I think that may, in fact, I think I'll just take it out in the kitchen and get it done. I can't do it today. I've got so much to do out here today. I'm filming at silly o'clock here. It's only just 10 o'clock, and I normally film after lunch. So I've got watering to do today. It'll have to wait, but I will put it to one side now so that I don't water it, so that it's dried out a bit when it won't be dry. I mean, it's quite moist because it's not using the water up, because it's not growing as well as it should be. So we'll get that one done. Not doing as well as it should. Right, so that's the individual plants that were requested that I can remember. And if I missed yours out, you'll have to ask again, won't you? And yeah, just a replacement for the normal question time with a different type of question time, basically. So hope you enjoyed the little look round at some odd plants, often some that we don't tend to look at. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.